Well, shalom, everybody. First thing I did when I got up this morning, of course, I said my prayers, and then I went in and I had bought these tomatoes I told you about earlier at the farmers market, and as you can see, these are basically what I've done with them is I cut up the tomatoes and I put them in with a salt water brine. You don't want to use table salt in anything; it'll make all your canning experience is mushy, for one thing, because it's not really salt at all. It's poisoned. Uh, I use canning salt or koshering salt. Or sea salt is great too, but you want to make sure it was dried naturally and not boiled or whatever. Then of course I have this here baggie that has water in there. I don't want to lift it up too much, but you can probably see the water in there. And what that does, it creates a seal and it pushes down all the tomatoes so that they won't be exposed to the air and start to rot. I'm going to leave that on my counter for up to about 3 days. On Sunday morning, of course, I'll go in and I'll take a taste. And what it'll do is it'll ferment those tomatoes to where they just taste wonderful. And it puts a fizzy, kind of like soda, when you drink soda, and I believe that's what it's like. I haven't had a soda in like 20 years because I've known of the poisons in them and what they'll do. I mean, when I can clean a bicycle's rusty rim by pouring Coca-Cola on it and it eats the rust off, there's something I don't want inside my holy temple. So anyway, it's got an effervescence kind of taste, and the tomato flavor is just enhanced like crazy, and it's excellent for your body. It's marvelous. It gives you the probiotics that you need, of course, with sauerkraut and kimchi, these sorts of things. Yogurt, plain yogurt, you don't want to use anything with sugar in it. You can add honey to it or whatever, plain yogurt, but these things are marvelous. Fermented vegetables, carrots and cabbages and all sorts of things, peppers. You really need to put a lot of these fermented foods into your diet. In fact, that's how the farmers and such in the years gone by used to preserve a lot of their foods on the farm. And of course, I do want to share with you this. Take a look at that bad baby. That is a moose roast there. It's a round of a moose. My brother had shot that up in Alaska. I'm going to take about half of that and make some hamburger out of it with my Ninja processor, chopper, whatever it is. It's a big old Ninja thing, and it's got these blades in there that'll chop it up real nice in the hamburger, and I'll make some meatballs, and I think I'll have me some spaghetti tonight. I'll fry up those meatballs, put them into some nice spaghetti sauce that I'll be making up, and do me up some noodles, and I think Yahshua will enjoy this meal. At least that's what I think he's pushing me on to do. So anyway, with that out the way, I also wanted to clarify, if you do choose to get a tent and stick it up in your living room or over your bed or whatever, that you can dwell in booths during this feast coming, I kind of failed to say that you should tie branches on your tent, okay? And that'll really make it into a booth, It'll make you feel like you're out there right underneath the trees. But I just wanted to bring that out. I failed to bring that out yesterday when I brought the video about, how to keep the feast a little better. Here in this video I just posted here yesterday on unholy potassium sorbate, dimethyl polysiloxane, profane alleged foods. Well, I had some comments, and I really love comments, and I love you, Angela, and you, Rick James. I mean, our king loves you. He knows who you are, but my fingers are a little sore today, so I did answer a bunch of emails and things earlier, and I just figured I'd rather say it right straight to your face, Here Angela wrote, she says, eat to live, not live to eat. And I agree, that's a mouthful. And I do know some people that do live to eat. That's what they do. I mean, I look around the the courtyard and such out here at the apartment building, and I see a lot of people, they live to eat. They don't just eat to live. Your other comment was someone told me not to tell them what to do, so I was like, hell is your portion, think about that, huh? I understand, but what's so sad about it, Angela, is so many people out there, the reason why they act and conduct themselves the way they do is they have no understanding of what like hell is. It's something that they just have no understanding of. It's a void area in their brains or in their souls. It's like their conscience is seared with a hot iron or something. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing the things that they do. And it is sad. I'm not praying for them unless, of course, they're asleep and will be awakened here a little later on by our King. But other than that, I'm not praying for them. It's just a pity. But there are some that are created for the destruction. So, that's all in our King's hands, has nothing to do with us. We should be praying for our brothers and sisters, which are those that do the will of our Heavenly Father, who art in heaven. Then we got Rick James here. I like Rick. He's pretty clever, this fella. It says, if the ingredients are hard to pronounce, then it's a science experiment, not food. That's right, it is. And, in the movie Genetic Roulette, that's GENETIC ROULETTE, Genetic Roulette. I highly recommend everybody watch that video. It's okay to even watch on the Sabbath because you're learning about these deadly poisons. But in the Genetic Roulette video, it's got children out there holding signs saying, I'm not a science project. So that was pretty interesting. That gave me a little flashback to that. And we'll have to watch, Genetic Roulette again soon. I've watched it many times. In fact, there was a video that actually our King had sent to Margaret, a sister of ours. And out of the blue, she stopped up in my house. And what I was doing was I was binging for a month. I was just going to eat zucchinis and summer crookneck squashes, whether fried or boiled or raw, or, I could put butter with it, salt and pepper, spices, but I was just going to eat zucchini and summer crookneck squash. And my family, I made the first night them some to go along with the rest of their supper, and they all felt like they had a cold after they had eaten the zucchini, and I wasn't going to make them go on my binge with me. I cook regular food for them. I've got that kind of self-control that I don't have to let my belly gods, which I've got rid of, to tell me that I, can't do my own diet the way that I want to do it. And I figured with the zucchinis and the summer crookneck squash that it would cleanse me out, give my body time to heal by giving them these wonderful nutrients that's in the zucchini and summer crookneck. But there was something I didn't realize, and I started on it. I didn't feel the cold at first like the children did. They didn't want no more of it afterwards. They had their fill of it because their bodies were more in tune, I guess, with what was true and what was false going into them, to where they repulsed it. But me, I was a little dumber, and I was in about my second week, and boy, I had been slowly picking up these symptoms, but I thought I was in a detox, and it was worse than the flu, worse than a cold and the flu together, and I've had cancer, and this was way worse than everything I ever had. And then one day, around 2 weeks into it, I went deaf for 24 hours. I couldn't hear anything. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? Around 2 or 3 days after that, I was like, I felt like death warmed over. And knock, knock, knock on my door was Margaret. She's like, Al, she says, I don't have time to, sit and visit or anything. She says, I'm in a rush. She says, but for some reason, I had to drop this DVD off to you for some reason. And I hadn't told her anything about what I was doing. So I thanked her and gave her a quick hug, and off she went. And I put in the DVD, and it just amazed me totally. You know, the genetic roulette. When I seen that in Africa there were sharecroppers that were eating the corn from the fields, the GMO corn, and some of them within just a week or two or so into the season, when they start eating it, they go to this doctor, and one eye would be going this way and the other eye this way, and they would just go different directions while they're sitting there talking to the doctor. And the doctor made the realization that when he saw that going on in somebody, they had like 48 hours, up to 48 hours to live. Most of them within 24 hours had died. My friends was making fun of me because my eyes were doing that, and they thought I was doing it. And it's like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just so sick, man. And I didn't understand what they were saying, because it's not like, you know, I could see vision over there and over there at the same time, or up and down. It was, oh, so peculiar. It was awful. But anyway, I put on that genetic roulette, and I found out that two of the most store-bought GMOs are zucchinis and summer crookneck squash. In fact, if it's not labeled as non-GMO, okay, or organic, and then you still, you know, it's still skeptical, you know, you're killing yourself. It almost killed me. And basically, genetic roulette is what our king sent to me to save my life. And right after that, I quit. But it took me, I'm still suffering from what the Frankenfoods had done to me. And there's times I got to the point where if I went to pick up one of the zucchinis or summer crookneck squashes, it's like my stomach started doing somersaults, and I just felt so sick. But I didn't put two and two together that these things were poisons, and I kept poisoning myself with these things that I bought from the store, these unholy and profane fruits and vegetables that they're raising. And now even fish and goats, you know, they've got, oh, poor goats, man, they mix spider genes with them so that when they milk them, they'll get spider webs to make Kevlar and stuff, you know. I mean, the things that they do to those living things on this earth, it's just like the days of Noah. But anyway, he says, then it's if the ingredients are hard to pronounce, then it's a science experiment and not food. And he says, back in 2010, I found out about GMOs, but family didn't believe me till they saw it on the news months or years later, then trying to warn me about them. Isn't that how it always goes, man? Lots of laugh like they forgot I already knew, you know. And everybody likes to think that they got something new to tell someone. And most people, when you tell them the truth, they just can't see it until somebody else comes along. That's what our king was talking about, you know. And he says someone plants, another comes and waters, another tends to them, another harvests, you know, and that sort of thing. That's what goes on. But it's hilarious how, you know, they start warning you about the very things you tried to warn them of months or years before, where they could have already been starting to save their own selves. But then they hear it from someone else, and then all of a sudden, you know, they know everything, and they go back to the source that first, you know, did the planting of the seed, as if they had no idea what the seed was going to bring forth. But anyway, thanks for the comments, Rick James and Angela. Love you guys, man, but Yahshua loves you more. And now what I want to get down to is vitamin C. Okay, I put up in here, in what years did the FDA try to ban vitamin C? Here they've got some from 2009, 2011, 2017. You know, some of these are reiterating, but, you know, it was like 2010, 2011 that was going on. Even from the 70s, they were discussing these things. But it got really out of hand to where we were scared to death that they were going to ban all vitamin C, whether intravenous or straight from the bottle, you know, capsulated, whatever that you take by mouth, or intravenous. They were going to make unlawful vitamin C unless you got it from a prescription of a doctor. Same thing with ascorbic acid or citric acid. Ascorbic acid is vitamin C. Citric acid's another derivative that's not vitamin C, but you know, it's an acid. And over here is another site. And these things I'm bringing out just, you know, for educational purposes. And this is Life, okay? And you can see up here it's like FDA-ban-vitamin-C with a backslash. And it shows here where the FDA vitamin C and intravenous vitamin C ban puts patients at risk. So you can see that there was actually a battle going on here where the FDA had set out, and they was, because, you know, vitamin C, the fight against cancer, it was healing people, and it was so cheap. It was for pennies that they was healing cancer. You didn't have to go through all the treatments that they've dreamed up, high dollar stuff, you know, killing off every cell in your body to try to kill off the cancer. You know, if they kill every cell in your body, well, you're a walking dead man or a walking dead woman or a walking dead child. And the cancer has nothing really to eat, so they hope the cancer will die off too. So they kill you basically with radiation and other things, wherein you could probably just use the vitamin C. If your kidneys haven't been really compromised, there's a few things, you know, if you got kidney stones or whatever, it's not so advisable to take intravenous vitamin C. But eating it through the mouth, you know, it has cured many a person at high doses of vitamin C. Sure, you get diarrhea and such, but the vitamin C will kill off the cancers and these sorts of things, you know. So the FDA wanted to ban them and make it unlawful for you to have vitamin C unless you had a doctor's script, you know, prescription for it. That is what the FDA tried to do, but why is it that the FDA stopped? That's the important question. That I don't know of anybody else on the earth other than what our king has shown me that has understood or seen this. And what is actually going on is the fact that they started using, instead of lemons and oranges and such, to derive the vitamin C, the ascorbic acid and citric acid from, they started using GMO corn for the most part. That's right. They took GMO corn that in Africa and other places, people are dying from it everywhere, but they don't have a test for it. They say it's natural causes when they die, you know, and they're real ill until they do die from eating these GMO foods and such. And this vitamin C, the reason, and I'll be right there, and the reason the vitamin C, they allowed it to be okay now, is because they make it from GMOs. It's killing you. I love y'all. Shalom.